Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Welcome to Lightning Component Development Session 9. So, as always, before proceeding with today's session, let's have a recap of Session 8. So, in Session 8, we had an introduction to Lightning App Builder. So, we have seen like how you can use your component inside a Lightning App Builder. What are the interfaces that are required to use your component inside a Lightning App Builder? What are the different pages available inside Lightning App Builder? So these are the things that we had a look on. Then we have learned we have learned about different Lightning interfaces. So to be precise, we had a look on 9 interfaces and their usage in Lightning context, or we can say Salesforce ecosystem. Using which interface, what are the capabilities your Lightning component will give you, where you can deploy your Lightning component if you implement certain interfaces. So these all things are controlled by your interfaces, which will allow your Lightning component to be deployed on different Lightning context, or we can say at different places. Then we developed our car detail component as well. So in that car detail component, we are seeing the details of cars, or like the mileage, per day rent, and everything, the name, the owner name, the car image, and everything we are seeing inside a car detail component. Along with car detail component, we also built our car details component, which is a parent component of car detail component, which will again be used to uh, handle the component events. Also, our lightning data service will be used inside car details component instead of car detail component. Then we have learned lightning data services. What is lightning data service? We have also seen like how you can view or load a record using lightning data service. We still haven't seen how to create a record or how to save a record using lightning data service, but we had a look how to view a record using LDS. Today we'll be seeing how you can create and save a record using LDS as well. So let's see today's agenda. So what we are going to learn today, we will be having a look on application event. So till now we have learned component event, which give us the feasibility to talk to different components within the same component hierarchy. So if you use a component event, that can be handled by any of the parent component or the component itself in the same hierarchy. But still, if your component belongs to other hierarchy, that component will cannot handle your component event. So for that we have application event. So we'll be having a look on application event and its advantages. Then we'll be creating one more component, add car experience today, which will be used to add your experience with that car. So let's say if a person has rented the car, and then he is allowed to share his experience using add car experience component. Then we will be completing our LDS as well today. So we will be seeing how to create a new record using LDS and how to save a record using LDS. So these are the two things that we'll be having a look on today. The lab exercises will include using your application event to complete our car details component. So yesterday it was a static component. Since we have passed the ID manually, so we have uh, hard coded the record ID in our LDS, so which is fetching the details from server. But today we'll make it more generic or more dynamic using application event. Then we'll create our add car experience markup. Then again we'll use our LDS to add new experience and to save a new experience record as well. So this is the application that we have created till now using our Lightning App Builder page. So we have created a application page called Rent a Car Demo, and in that we have included our car search form, our car search result, and car details component. So if you click on any of the component, or the car gets highlighted, but if you click on the submit button, we still don't see the latest result from server, right? So how this like what could have caused this issue? So if you look at our code, still your when we click on the submit button in car search form component, whenever the user clicks on the submit button, we are firing a event here. Yes, on search click event. In this, we are firing a form submit event, which is taking our car type ID to the parent component, which is our car search component. And since this is a application event, it must be handled by the component itself or the parent component. So our parent component is car search component here. So if you look at the car search form components, parent component is car search. So that event is being handled in car search component, which is further calling this car search result components aura method to display this result. But since we have included these components here differently, so we have included a car search form component and car search result, we do not have that binding in between. The parent child relationship has been lost. So how to avoid this? So that's why we are not seeing any result when we click on the submit button. So how to avoid this? Click on the edit page. We still need to keep that hierarchy in place, then only this component will work. So how to do that? Remove this car search component or car search result component, remove this completely, and instead of that we will include our car search parent component. So we will include this car search parent component, which will eventually include these three. So it will include your car search form as well, along with your car search result and car tile component. So we'll do that now. So just drag your car search component from here and drop it in the application itself, and then save the record, save the page. Go back, clear your cache first, reload the page. Yeah. So now if you see, we are seeing a better UI, and here instead of including car search form and car search result component, we are only including our car search component, which is the parent component of all these three. On the top we are seeing our application page name, which we have created yesterday. Now if you click here and click on submit, now we are seeing the latest result, or the filtered result, we can say. So that we are able to see now. But still what we need to do, we need to, once you click on any of the car, that car detail should pop up on this details component. Here it is static as of now, since it is fetching, since we have given the uh, car id, we have hard coded the car id yesterday. It's still not fetching the details of the car where we are clicking on. So that's when our application event will come in picture. So for that, let's read about application event first. But please make those changes in your lightning application page to make it work. Instead of your car search form and car search result, include your car search component there. It will keep that parent child relationship in place, and all the events will be handled by your car search component. Now application events follow a traditional publish subscribe model. So what does it mean? What is the difference between a component event and application event? So a component event can only be handled by the component who is firing it, or the component who is on who or the parent component, which is in the same hierarchy. So if you look at this image, so let's say our component d2 is firing a event. So that can be handled by the d2 itself, or maybe the parent component. So let's say the framework has a parent component, let's say parent component, the name is parent component itself. So d2 event, so the component is event which is fired by d2 can only be handled by the d2 itself or the parent component. It cannot be handled by d1 or a b c e. None of them can handle this event, since this is a parent component. But if any of these component is firing a application event, then all of the other component can subscribe to that, or can use a handler to handle that event. So let's say if your d1 component is firing a application event, that can be handled by your d2 as well, a b c e, all these component as well. So the condition is they must uh, define a aura handler to handle this event. So it does not matter if they are a parent component or the child component. It does not matter if they belong to same hierarchy or not. As long as they have subscribed to the event, or as long as they are using Aura handler for that event, they should be able to handle the event. So that is the main difference between application event or component event. An application event is fired from an instance of a component. All components that provide a handler for the event are notified. So let's say if component D1 and component A has subscribed to this event, they will be notified that D2 has fired an event. Please handle this event. To fire and handle application event, we need to follow below steps. So similar to our component event, first we need to create a application event. Then we need to define the attributes inside Aura colon event tag, which is the parent tag for any event file, similar to our component event as well. Then we need to fire the event from the component using the fire method, and that event can be handled using Aura handler similar to our component event. So let's fire and handle the application event. So what we need to do, once the user clicks on this card tile, it should fire a application event, and that should be handled by your car details component. And we will pass the car type ID as well. Not car type ID, we'll pass the car ID as well here, which will be picked up by the car details component, and then it will fetch the details using LDS for that particular ID and show the details here. So let's do that. So our car tile component will be used to fire the application event. So let's go back to our car tile component. So once the user clicks on a button, so we are already having a controller action on car click. So in this controller action, we should fire the application event. We are already firing a event on car select here, that to handle our selection process here. So we need to remove the border from the previously selected car tile, and we need to select the latest one. So that is being handled in this component event on car select. We'll again fire a application event as well here in the same function. So first of all, we need to create the event first using so let's follow these application event uh, steps. First we need to create the application event file. How to do that? Go to your file, new, click on lightning events. Here give it the name. You can give it any name what you want. Let's say we can give it card select application event. We can give it any name, but let's give it a meaningful name like card selected application event. Once you save it, you should be able to see a file with application event. Let me, I already have the file with me, so let me open that. So this is the event that I have, card selected application event. Once you do that, you should be able to see this is this file with event type as application. This time we don't have to change it to component because we are firing application event itself. In the description I have given a description, a meaningful description, you can give it as well. And also this event will hold a attribute of object type. So the type is car double underscore c. You can make it object as well, but then you need to typecast it. But we don't have to typecast it if you are directly giving the API name of the object and then name of the attribute. Once you save it, you can fire this event from your car tile controller here. So let's fire this event. The second step is define your attribute. So we have already defined our car attribute in that event between Aura event tag. Third step is to fire the event using components controller action. So let's do that. Let me, let's fire the event here. So this is what you need to do to fire the event. So what I'm going to do, instead of get event here, which is like being defined. So in component event, you need to register the event in your component first. But in application event, there is no need to register the event in your component markup, since that is an application event and does not only belong to your component. It belongs to it. It can be fired by any of the component. So that's why we are not registering the event here. Since we are not registering the event, we are not using the get event method here. Instead of that, we are using a get method here, and that too after $a. So what does this $a defines here? It means the application framework itself. So what we want to do, we are trying to get a application event from the framework, from the application framework. The name of the application event is card selected application event. So that is how you can get that application event. Then what we are trying to do here, so here we are seeing if the application event is supported, similar to what we have done in our car search form for the new button. So if the application event is supported, we are passing the car attribute value here. So what we are trying to pass here, we already have a variable car which is holding the value of car object attribute. So this v dot car is the attribute in our component of type car double underscore c. We are just passing the value of this here using set params method. So again, it follows the JSON architecture. You can define multiple parameters or multiple attributes here if your application event is accepting those. And then we are simply firing the event using fire method. It's similar to what we have done in our app component event as well. So the set params and fire method will be same. The only difference is how to get your component. In component event, we need to use the component reference, but in application event, we need to use the Aura application reference. Once we have fired the event, let's see the next step. We need to handle the application event using Aura handler. So where do we want to handle it? We want to handle this in our car details component here, which is the parent of car detail experience and add experience component. So let's go back to our car details component here. We need to define a handler here, Aura colon handler, which will be handling that application event. So for that, let's define the handler. So what we are doing here, we are simply passing the event name, which is car selected application event name, and we are giving a action which should be executed when we are handling this event. So the action will we need to declare or we need to define the definition of this action in our controller file. So let's go to our controller file. Let's see if this method is already there or not. Yep, I have already created this on car selected function. So what I'm doing here, so first we need to handle our application event this way. And if you remember our application event, where is our application event, is also having a attribute named as car. So this will be holding the car object value. So we need to get that car attribute value from that event. So how to do that? Using get param method and the parameter name or attribute name. But we are only bothered about our car id there. We are not bothered about the remaining things. We are not bothered about what details that particular uh, car object is carrying. So how to do that, how to get the id from that attribute, the object attribute, by using the dot operator here and id. So what you can do, you can, instead of passing the complete car object here, you can also simply pass the id, car id here, and simply use that car id here. You don't have to get the id like this way. So that will also make your application event a lightweight event, since it will not have to carry the complete car object here. And since we are only since we only want the car id, we do not want the other details in that car object. So you can change that in that way. Once you do that, so now we have got the car id, but we need to store that car id somewhere, right? So we will need to create another attribute which will hold the id of which will hold the car id which is being supplied by our application event. So this attribute of type id, no, we don't want this one. We want, just change it to maybe id itself. And you can define the access as well. So once you do that, we want to store this ID which is being fetched from our application event here. So we have got the ID, and now we will use the set method here to set that ID. Let's not be bothered about these functions for now. So how to do that? We use the set method here to set the ID in our components ID attribute. Once we do that, what we need to do? Uh, we need to use our LDS here to reload the record with the latest ID that is being supplied to this LDS. So instead of record ID here, hard coding the record ID here, what we need to do first, we need to use this attribute here that will hold the ID of currently selected car. So this is how you can do it. So once we do that, we need to use this reload record function. So this reload record function will reload the LDS, and it will reload the latest record or using the ID which is being supplied to this LDS. So once you do this, let's see if it is working or not. Clear the cache, reload the page. Yep. Now we are getting the latest. So like once you change your selection here, we are seeing that car's detail here. So how is it happening? It's simply using the car ID which is being supplied by the application event, which is being fired from this car tile component and being handled in our car details component here. We'll use that car ID in our LDS to fetch the details of that particular car ID or car. So that is how you have made it dynamic. Now we are able to see the latest detail on the right hand side car details component. If you have any question in this one, please post those question on the forum section. And now we have one more exercise here to develop our add car experience component. So what we want to do, we want to create this add car experience component where we can add the uh, where we can add our experience about this particular car. So let's say if I rented this car in past, I can add my experience. So let's create the markup of this add car experience component. Let's close all these files. Go to file, new component, give it a name as add car experience and save it. Once you do that, you should be able to see your add car experience component in developer console. So this is what I have created for add car experience component. This is the markup of add car experience component. So what we are doing in this one, let's go through the markup code. First of all, to use inheritance, we are extending our base component here. After that, we are having a attribute of type car double underscore c, which will hold the car attribute which is being supplied by our parent component, cartels component. So how it is working? So again, your cartels component is the parent component of all these three components. We have already developed our cartel component, and in our cartel component, what we are doing, we again have the similar type of attribute that we have in our add car experience component, and this attribute value is being supplied by the parent component, which is car details. So if you see here, when we are calling this car detail component here, we are passing this car attribute from here. So that's why we need one more attribute on add car experience. So it will we will pass this car value from the parent component here, and then we will again display the values of that car in our add car experience again. We have one more attribute with car underscore experience double underscore c. This is one another custom object. I'm sure you are already aware about the data model of our rent a car application. So this object will store the experience records about a particular car. Then we have our init handler. So now this is the layout. So again we are doing multiple rows to create multiple rows. The layout item size is 12, and why we have given the small, medium and large device size 12? Because we want one component to be displayed in a single line. The second component should come in the another line. It should not come in the same horizontal line. So that's why the size is 12, and the device size is also 12. So what your lightning colon input does, it will create an input on the UI where you can it will be like a normal HTML input box with lightning look and feel, where you can write the value in that input box, and then that can be used when you will save the record. Similar to that, we have in the next layout item, we have input rich text, which will again render a rich text kind of input box, where you will get the option like to bold your comment, to uh, with more options with your text, so it will be like a rich text. Then lightning then we have another button inside the third layout item, which will be used to add your experience. So we will have a button called add your experience, which will pick the values from these two fields, and then it will save that in our car experience object. So that is all about the markup. So once you create this markup, you can include this add car experience inside your car details component here. So till now, if you see, our car details component is only showing one tab, that is details, but you want our add car experience tab also here. So what you can do, go back to our parent component car details. We already have the tab set and tab here. So let's copy this tab here, paste here. Instead of details, you can give it add car experience. ID, you can give it maybe add experience tab. This ID should be unique, because although you can give it duplicate as well, is the framework will not give you any error, but it should be unique, because we can uniquely select the current selected tab using our tab set. So in our controller function, if you want to select this tab by default, we can do that if that tab is having a unique ID. Then instead of car details, what we want to do here, add car. This take care of the cases here, since lightning is a case sensitive language. For now, let's not pass any attribute here and save it. So what is saying must be followed by, okay. Once you save it, go to our lightning app page, clear the cache, reload the page. Let's click on a car. So you see here, along with details tab, we have one more tab, add car experience now. So that is having this kind of UI. So we have a input box and the rich text input box. So the rich text will give you more options to format your uh, text, which is written inside your rich text. And then we have a button to save your experience called add experience. But if you try to type anything in this one, it will give you an error, because you are using a null attribute. Why it is giving an error? Because you have mapped your car experience object here, or car experience attribute here, which is basically null. You haven't you haven't assigned a value to this car experience attribute here. So once you type something in this input rich text or in your input, it will try to assign that value to our car experience object, which is basically null. That's why we are getting this error. So we'll modify it now using LDS, and then we will. So what we want to do now, so using LDS, first we need to create a blank record with where we will define the title and description, and then again with LDS we want to save this record as well. So that record will be saved corresponding to the selected car ID here. So we need to map that experience with the car ID as well here. So let's do all those things. Now create a record using LDS. So we have already seen how to view or load a record using LDS. So that is completely being taken care in your markup file itself. But to create a record or to save a record, we need to use our controller file as well. So to create a record using LDS, declare force colon record data without assigning a record ID. So if you go back to our LDS that we have used in car details component here, we have given the record ID here because we want to load that particular record from server. But if I creating the new record, the record ID should be blank because the record does not exist in the backend. That's why we need to remove this record ID from the force colon record data. Next, load a record template by calling get new record function. So we need to use get new record function inside our controller file to create a blank record for LDS. So that we'll be having a look today. Then we need to apply values to new record and save the record by calling save record function. So this is the save record function we will be using when we will be saving the record using LDS. But to create a blank record, we only need to use get new record. So the get new record will give you a blank record template. So all the field values will be blank. You can define the values or you can assign the values to those field and then save it back. So this is the markup or the code for our get new record function. So what we are doing here, the component dot find is the ID or aura ID of our force colon create record component. On that particular component, we want to call a method called get new record. Then we need to define the object API name here. In our case, it should be add underscore. In our case, it should be car underscore experience double underscore C. Then you can give the record type ID as well here. So let's say if your object is having multiple record types, then you can define the record type ID here. Then we have the mechanism to skip the cache as well. And the most importantly, we need to define the get callback function. So this function will be called once the record blank record has been created, and if you want to do some post processing. So here what we want to do, we want to get the record, and maybe if the record is null, then we want to show the error. So you can do whatever the business logic you have in get callback function. It will be called after the blank record is created by LDS. Now use LDS to create new experience record. So what we need to do, go to our developer console, go to our add car experience function here, component markup here. So first of all, what we need to do, we need to define the force colon record data component here, similar to our car details component, like this. So let's define that force colon record data component here. Let's add that. So your force colon record data is having the aura ID as service. I given it as service. It is having the target fields. It does not have the record ID which is there on car details component here. It has a target error attribute as well. We need to give this attribute record error. We need to define this attribute in our component markup now. And then it has a record updated method or action as well, which will be called once the record is updated. And then it is having four fields from our car experience object. One is your car double underscore C, which is the lookup on the car object from the car experience object. Then we have a rich text field to hold the experience. And once you do that, save it. Now what we need to do, we need to define the attributes here. So first of all, let's create this attribute record error attribute. So we are given the record error attribute here. Now let's go to our init handler. So what we want to do in init, so we want to, in our init handler, we want to create a blank record using our get new record function. So go to your controller, inside our init handler, Do you see this helper dot on init? I'm calling a helper on init function from here, and in this helper file, what I'm doing, I'm calling this get new record function for Lightning for to create a new blank record for our LDS. So we are fetching the LDS component here using find function here. So if you see, the service is the Aura ID of our record data uh, component here. Once you do that, call this get in new record, define all these attribute in our get callback function. What we want to do, we are getting the car experience attribute value here. This is the car experience attribute value here. We are getting it, then we are getting the error as well, and then we are getting the car as well. So if the record, the car experience record is still not still null, that means if the record is not being created, or the record is somehow not being initialized by our get new record function, then what we will say, we'll say the error in our initialization of a record template. So your get new record should put blank value in v.car experience. It should not be null now, but if it is null, then that means somehow our get new record function is not working. Else what we want to do, we want to set the car experience car ID. So what we are doing here, we want to set this car ID here using component dot set attribute here, because we want to map this experience record with our correctly selected car, right? So that's what we are doing here. Once we do that, save it. So this code should create a blank record for you. Mm, let's save it and then let's try it again. Clear the cache, reload the page, go to your add car experience. Okay, it is saying cannot read property ID of null. So let's see where we are using this. Okay, so it is saying this car is null, because it is saying the ID cannot be read because your car object is null, or this car variable is null. Because what we have done, we are not supplying the car ID here from our parent component. So we need to supply this car attribute here. Once you do that, reload the page. First clear the cache and then reload the page. Once you click on this add car experience, if you are typing now, we are not getting error, if you see, because we have already created a blank record. Now your car experience is not null here. uh, this car experience attribute is not null, it is being already created by our LDS. So that is how you can create a new blank record using LDS. Now the blank record does not put any value, right? So we need to save that record once we supply the value here. So for that we will be using saving the record, we will be saving the record using LDS. So let's move on. So similar to our creating the new experience, the record data the record ID in our record data component should be null for saving the record as well. It should not be null if you are saving a record which is already existing in the backend, but if you are saving a new record, then it should be null. To save a record using LDS, call save record function. So to create a new blank record, we had get new record function. To save a record, we have save record function in our LDS. So what it does, so when you can use this save record function to save changes to an existing record. So if you are changing, or if you are saving the change to an existing record, the record ID attribute should be there with the record ID. But if you are saving a new record, then the record ID should not be there. So these are the two ways to uh, two operations where you can use our these are the two examples where you can use LDS to save the record. To save changes to an existing record, load the record in edit mode. So yesterday we loaded our record in view mode because we just wanted to load and view the record. But To save it, we need to make it, we need to load it in edit mode. So that's what we are doing here. So if you go to our developer console, what we need to do, we need to define the edit mode here. So what, let's go back to our cartels component. You see here mode was view here, but we need to give it edit here. Then let's have a look at our save record function. So what is doing, you are simply again getting your record data component by using the aura id, and then we are defining the get callback function here. So if it is success or if it is draft, so what is the difference between success and draft? So let's say while saving the record, your internet connectivity has broken. So still your lightning framework will hold the value on client side, and as soon as you get the internet connectivity, it will push those changes to the server side. But in that case, you will get the state as draft because it's not been saved on the server yet, it's already existing on the client side. But if it is success, that means the record has been saved successfully on the server side. If it is incomplete, that means the user is offline, device does not support draft. So somehow your device does not support draft, that means your device does not support client side cache mechanism to hold that value on the client side that can be pushed to server once the connection is up again. So if it is not the case, then you will get the state as incomplete. And if it is error, then there is some problem while saving the record. You can get the error, complete error, in save in your error parameter. So how you can call that, just use your save result at, variable, and then you can use the dot operator to access error. Then if it is not the case, if all these three, if you are not getting any state value at all, then you can give a else condition as well to say like unknown problem occurred, and we are not even sure what is the problem. So let's use LDS to save the new record. Till now we have created the new record, but now we will use this on save function on the click of this add experience button, where we will call our add experience or save record function in LDS. So this is the save record function that we need to call. So again we are finding this component service component, which is our lightning colon record data, first colon record data. So we are finding that using aura id here, and then we are calling this save record function here, and we have defined get callback function as well. So before that, let's map our component or our new experience record with our uh, with the car id here. So this car double underscore c should have a value. So we need to map that in our component, or we need to map that in our own save function before we save the before we save the record. So how to do that? What we want to do, we want to define this car experience, and we want to get this car double underscore c value or the field, and then we will give this field a value similar to what we are getting in our car attribute here. So that's what we are doing here. We are getting this car experience, then we are getting that field on that car experience object, and then we are setting the value using set parameter similar to what we are getting in our car attribute here, so which is being supplied by our car tails component here. You see the, here we are supplying this car id and car complete car object. Once you do that, you can again use this success draft and everything. So what you can do here, so I believe you are already aware about our base component here. So in base component helper, I had a call server function, generic function to call our server controllers or apex. Apart from that, I had another method show toast, which needs to display the toast on the UI. So this is again our generic function. Here it is accepting the same thing like component, event, helper, and params. So it's very similar to our call server function. And here it is we are displaying uh, the params value. So if the param is not supplied by the calling function or from the inherited function, then we are defining the default param value here. So if you see I use this not operator, that means if params are not supplied, then set these param which are like default param. But if it is supplied, then we will directly use this in our set params here. So that's what we are going to do here. So if the result is success, we are not calling our base helper to show the toast. We are calling it on the controller function itself. So we are again creating, this is the event show toast, which is being supplied by the lightning framework. We are getting it again using $a reference. If the event is supported, so if again it is not supported in your lightning standalone application and only supported in lex and mobile. So if it is supported, then we are simply showing the toast. But if it is not supported, then we are showing a alert. Let's say the car experience added. And then we are calling this on init function again. Why we are calling this on init function again? Because we are creating the blank record again. That we want to create the blank record again so that the user can fill another experience. But if it is not the case, if the success or draft is not received in response, so that's when we are using our we are using our uh, super component here, which is base components show toast function. You see here this show toast function we are using here. You can use this show toast function here as well, but I wanted to cover both the mechanism to call or to show a show toast event. So I'm using this helper.show toast in all the other results that we are getting. So if you are getting incomplete, then I'm passing device does not support draft. If you are getting error, then that means we are saying problem in saving the record. If we are not getting any state, then we are saying unknown problem. So this is all about the uh, on save function. We are also using on record updated function where it is being called. So once your record is updated, we are calling this on record updated function. So here we are not doing many things. We are simply getting the parameters which will be supplied in our record updated event. We are using those parameters to check if the value of that particular record is changed or not. If it is changed, then let's say if you want to display which field value is changed. So what I want to say, so let's say you have created a new car experience and you have changed the description from, let's say, from test 1 to you are changing it to test 2. Then you want to display it on the UI. Okay, the description field value has been changed, so that you can use our on record updated. It's optional. If you want to use it, then only use it, else there's no need to use this on record updated function. It will hold the values which which are changed by LDS on your UI. And it again has different change types. One is your changed, so loaded. So first time if your record is loaded, then it will you can use this loaded change type. Uh, if your component is removed, then we have removed an error as well. Again, it is completely optional. If you want to use it, then only use it. So if you do these things, then let's go and check our component code here. Let's test our application. First of all, let's see if our car experience object is having any records or not. We do not have any car experience record as of now, so we'll be creating that now and we'll be seeing how it looks in the backend. So let's clear the cache and reload the page. Click on the car, go to add car experience, give it a title, Once we do that, click on add experience button, which will use our save record function of LDS to save this record. Let's see. So we are getting this show toast here, car experience header. So this is the toast. Since we are using this function in our Lex experience, or we can say inside app builder, so that event is supported, and we have got this show toast function here, show the toast message here, and you see this these values has been set to default or null again. So you can again submit another experience here. We do not have our experiences component yet to show those on our rent a car application UI, but we can check that on the backend now. So let's see. You see here we have got our new car experience record. So the record is successfully saved. So that using LDS. So this is all about today. So what we have covered our application event, and which is like very useful if you want to communicate between two uh, components which does not belong to the same hierarchy, or and which is not like a parent or child component of each other. And then we have used LDS to create a blank record, and then again we have used LDS to save a record. These are today's assignment. So what we can do, you should develop your add car experience component, use LDS to create the record and save the record, then add your add car experience component inside parent car tails component. So add that using the lightning colon tab, and you can read about application event from this link. It will be available on the description as well. If you have any questions, please do ask them on the SFDC Facts forum. The link will again be available in the description of this video. And please don't keep this knowledge with you. Please share it with your colleague, or with the complete Salesforce community. Thanks all.